Well, it's adding and subtracting fractions today, but it's actually now. We're not really going to get into that, but we are going to start with the basics. And in order to add such fractions, you need what's called a common denominator. So a common denominator is also known as the least common multiple. All right, so a lot of math words that are there, and we're not even going to write these terminologies down because it's more about the technique that we're after right now than just simply memorizing some vocabulary words. But your least common multiple, which is your least common denominator, which means you need to have the same bottom number in a fraction. All those things are the same. So we get that by going through our multiplication facts. So that's what we're going to work on today, is finding the least common multiple. We're finding the smallest number that two numbers can fit into. So don't look at 4 and 6 and be like, oh, 2. Yeah, 2 works. Well, no. We don't want to know who can fit into 4 and 4 into 6. We want to know who can 4 and 6 both fit into. I know, it sounds a little weird. Let's roll through it. So your least common multiple is simply your multiplication facts. And it's just the smallest number they have in common. So we're going to be very visual at the beginning here. We're actually going to list everything out. The goal is to get you to be able to come up with it at the top of your head by just rolling through your mental math facts. So 4 and 6. If we need to find that least common multiple, we list out the multiplication facts. And typically we list them out in like groups of 3, 4, or 5. Just kind of depends. So for example, 4 times 1, 4, it's there. 4 times 2, that's an 8. 4 times 3, that's a 12. 4 times 4, well, that's a 16. Now again, I could keep on listing, but we got other things to do. Let's go over to 6 and list out our multiplication facts. So for 6 times 1, there's your 6. 6 times 2, there's your 12. Stop right there. All right, don't worry about 6 times 3. Don't worry about 6 times 4, because look. We've got someone who's in common. So this is your least common multiple, your least common denominator, and this is step 1 of adding and subtracting with fractions. So like I said, we're not even going to get into that whole process there until we can really nail this down. So let's look at another one. Let's look at 6 and 8. So again, list out your multiplication facts. 6 times 1, 6. 6 times 2, 12. 6 times 3, 18. 6 times 4, 24. Let's just put down one more. I don't know. 6 times 5, 30. And again, you're just listing them out. You could list out 2 of them. You could list out 3 of them. And then you would just keep the list going. 8 times 1, 8. 8 times 2, 16. No match. 8 times 3, 24. Oh, sound the alarms. There it is. We've got you. All right. So 6 and 8, the smallest number that they can both fit into would be a 24. Let's try 4 and 5. So for 4, 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 2, 8. 4 times 3, 12. And again, you can just start by doing a few. 5. 5 times 1, 5. 5 times 2, 10. 5 times 3, 15. Do we have any matches yet? No. So we keep going. 5 times 4, 20. Let's go over the other side. 4 times, where are we at now? 3, 4, 16. Any matches? No. 4 times 5, there it is. There's 20. And there we got it. Now sometimes students ask, like, well, why don't I just multiply the two together? I mean, the first two numbers were 4 and 5, and that would give me 20, and I got my answer there. It just always doesn't work that way. Take a look at the previous ones. If you did 6 times 8, you'd be using 48, a much larger number, when really we want to use 12. Or 24, excuse me. 4 and 6. Well, 4 times 6 is 24, but I really don't want to use that. 12 is the smallest one. Could I use it when adding subtract fractions? We can, but then we get larger numbers and it gets to be a little bit more of a difficult ride. We're going to look at one more here, and then we're going to give you a few to try individually. And there are little patterns here, and that's what these last two are going to be about. So let me try one more with you. Let's go after someone like 3 and 9. All right, so we'll list out our multiplication facts. 3 times 1, 3. 3 times 2, 6. 3 times 3, 9. Okay, I'm stopping right there because look, there it is, 9 times 1. We got you. We got it. So there are things that we do want to watch for that will shorten things up. Like when we're dealing with the least common multiple, a lot of times we're going to look and see if the little number, so 3, can fit into the bigger number, 9. And it does. 3 does fit into 9. So that's how I know to use 9 right away. It's going to be my least common multiple. Again, I can list them out, but it's going to speed things up. Do you see how 4 and 5 are right next to each other? That's what we call consecutive numbers. So like when we count, they're right next to each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right next to the other, consecutive. They're always going to get multiplied together. That's the only way it's ever going to work out. So there are little patterns that pick up. Again, we're not going to really focus in on that. So let's do this here. Let's give you 2 for yourself, and let's see what you can do with it. So let's try someone like 6, and let's use 9. Pause it, see what happens. All right, we're listing them out here. So how about 6 times 1, 6. 6 times 2, 12. 6 times 3, 18. All right. 9 times 1, 9. 9 times 2, 18. There it is. There it is. And again, the goal here is for you to be able to go through your math facts in your head and not list them out. 6, 12, 18. All right. 9, 8. To be able to mentally go through them. Let's give you one more. Let's try someone like, how about 5, and let's use 8. Go ahead and see what you can do. All right. So as always, hopefully you're pausing here and you're solving them there. We can tell you that the answer is 40. Okay. Now I'm going to do more of the mental approach here. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Things I know about 5 is they always end in a 5 or have to end in a 0. So as I'm going through my 8s, what I'm really doing is 8 times 1, 8, 8 times 2, 16, doesn't end in a 5 or 0. 8 times 3, 24. 8 times 4, 32, does not end in a 5 or 0. 8 times 5, 40. Oh, there it is. There it is. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about from a least common multiple standpoint. Tomorrow, we'll get into using the least common multiple to do our addition and our subtraction.